everyone, it's Carly here for Ellen Hutson LLC, and I'm thrilled to be joining you for the December newsletter. Let's chat about Nuvo Drops. Now, some of you might already be Nuvo experts, but with the recent addition of the vintage drops to the line, I thought it would be fun to kind of talk all things Nuvo Drops and share 3 of my very favorite ways to use them. First, let's talk about the crystal drops. It's kind of a funny group because they include some metallic colors and some non-metallic colors. So let's divide them into 2 groups. First up, the glossy crystal drops. Now these are kind of the brightest colors in the Nuvo line, kind of where you'll find your traditional rainbow. They are going to dry to a glossy finish and they're opaque. Now also in the crystal drop group is the metallic crystal drops. These are also going to be glossy and opaque, but with that beautiful metallic finish. Then there are glitter drops. They're going to dry glittery and kind of semi-translucent, so you can see the paper underneath just a bit. And there are jewel drops that are definitely translucent, glossy and translucent, beautiful tint of color to a clear gloss. Finally, there's the new vintage drops. These are the only drops that dry with a matte finish, opaque and matte and very beautiful kind of dusty vintage colors. Now let's talk about my favorite ways to use Nuvo drops. The first is kind of the way they're intended, as little enamel candy type dots on your card, as a little dimensional embellishment. So to create this card, I'm stamping the all inside bear off the edge of a card panel. I'm adding a speech bubble from the High Five set, which is new this month. And then I'm going to add the little blowing kisses your way sentiment into that speech bubble. Now I'm going to create some little kisses with the trio of heart stamp. And then I'm going to give my bear little pink cheeks before, as a final touch, I add my Nuvo drops. I like to add them at the end so I can set the card aside and I don't get my fingers in it. I learned that the hard way. And a tip is that if your Nuvo drops seem kind of hard to squeeze, hold them in your hands for a few minutes so they can kind of warm up, or put it in your pocket while you're working, whatever you need to do. It depends how cold your studio is, right? Second tip is to kind of get that first drop out on a craft mat or piece of scratch paper so that if it kind of sputters like that, it's not on your project. And then to make the actual dot, you just want to get it close to your paper but not touching, and squeeze until you like the size of the droplet. If you're afraid to do it right on your project, you can make the drops ahead of time on your craft mat or on a piece of spare plastic. Super easy, and then you can just peel them off and glue them on. One last thing, these are self-leveling, so you're not going to have to worry about the swirl on top. It will smooth out, but just in case if you want them to be flatter, more like enamel drops, just give your paper a little tap. Now another way I like to use Nuvo drops is with stencils. So for this card, I'm starting with a little bit of ink blending on a card panel, and I'm using those new Trinity brushes that are new in the Ellen Hutson store, and they're awesome, and we're definitely going to talk more about that later. But in the meantime, I've ink blended, then I've die cut a heart, and then I've got a stencil on top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some Nuvo drops. I'm going to put them outside the edge of that heart and then use a squeegee to spread it out through the rays. Now, the reason I'm working outside of the cardstock that I've just ink blended is because Nuvo drops are water-based, and that ink that I use to blend is also water-based. So if I put a drop right on my cardstock, it would leave a little water spot. Ask me how I know that. So if you didn't have a die cut stencil or a die cut heart in the middle, you could just start from the outside of your card panel and move in the other direction. And then you have this great ray, and it works with the glitter drops and all the other drops too. It's really fun. Definitely give it a try. Okay, so the final way I love to use Nuvo drops is on top of die cut words and letters. I love the effect it gives. For this card, I'm using the Mondo Squishy Hug sentiment, but I'm doing some lazy girl masking and I'm putting some low tack tape over hugs, inking it up, pulling that tape off and stamping, and that way I can put a hugs die cut there instead of have the stamped hugs. I'm adding the all inside bear because he goes with my trio of cards, and then I didn't have hugs in a die cut font that I liked, so I'm piecing it together from 4 different words. I have 1 letter from each word, and I've die cut them all 3 times. 1 in the color I want them to be at the end, and then the other 2 times from just like scratch cardstock. And I do this because I really like the sturdiness it gives the die cuts after you put the Nuvo on. So now I'm taking a piece of low tack tape and putting it on an acrylic block. This is a hack that I developed after ruining countless things that had wet Nuvo on them. So I get the letters on there, and you can see they're a little bit sturdy. They're the 3 layers of cardstock. And then I'm going to add some clear Nuvo drops. Now I love to use clear because then you can match the color underneath perfect. So I like to start with whatever color I want it to be and then put the clear on top. And plus, if you get it a little on the edges, you can't tell because it's clear. Now I'm going to create a little mask for my bear. I want to mask off his arms. So I've set that Nuvo word aside to dry, and I'm making a little mask. I have the stamping mask paper, and I like to stamp in a permanent ink so that when I'm working with the mask, the ink doesn't smudge and transfer to my project. And I'm just going to put those little arm masks on my bear and then stamp a little heart in his middle so that he's sending you Mondo Squishy hugs. Now you can see those little masks come off. He's got that little heart. Then I'm going to finish by adding my hugs on there that I've coated in Nuvo. And there you go. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this Nuvo information was helpful, and I hope you have a fabulous day. You can find more information in the video subscription below, and make sure you subscribe to the Ellen Hutson channel. Have a great day and happy crafting.